What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It is Friday. That means it's time for another Underdog NBA best ball draft here at FTNFantasy.com. My name is Zac Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS. Welcome in, everybody. Excited to jump into another one of these with you all. We'll get started here in a minute. We can go ahead and bring up our tournament page here. Make this a little bit bigger. We'll jump in, see how many we're waiting on. Waiting on one. So just one more, and we will get started on this double dribble draft here on Underdog. Drop in the ranks over at FTNFantasy.com. We'll drop that link here into the YouTube live chat. These rankings are a top 200, authored by myself, free to view there at FTNFantasy.com. You can see that link right now in the YouTube live chat. Still just waiting on one to get going here on our Friday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well, ready for the long weekend. College football back tomorrow. I know it's back already, but back in earnest, right? On tomorrow, August 31st. So this is the second live draft of the season for us here. Again, you can catch me here live 1 p.m. Eastern every Friday between now and the beginning of the NBA season. Steelers signed Boston Scott, Brandon Johnson, Ben Skowronek to their practice squad. You can see in my background, Steelers fan here, so pertinent to me, and maybe Adam Stranges. Just waiting on one here. I imagine UNC either already lurking or going to try to join us here shortly. I know we had, I believe it was Mo that was in here last week as well, watching along, had the one spot. And again, you will see on my screen, I have gone over to Underdog Fantasy, gone to rankings, which you can find here at the top of the page, alongside results, newsfeed live up there at the top. On your desktop, you can put in your own rankings. You can copy mine over from FTN Fantasy, and then players will be, you can, of course, you see here, sort by my rank. You can also, of course, sort by ADP, Underdog's projections, but we're going to sort by my rank. And one thing you can see here, ADPs shift pretty drastically week to week for us here on Underdog. Jokic and Wembanyama now separated by 0.1. Jokic ADP 1.5, Wemby 1.6. And like I talked about last week, I'm fine taking either of those guys with the 101. I still lean slightly towards the Joker. A little bit of NBA news coming in here. TJ McConnell. 4 years, $45 million extension with the Pacers. We'll have more on that Mondays, the FTN Fast Break podcast. Myself, Mike Randall, breaking down everything, not just in the NBA, but the hoops world in general. Those are Mondays during the offseason, Mondays and Thursdays once we get that NBA regular season tipped off in late October. Still just waiting on one here. And again, while we're waiting, if you're watching, you're wondering what this is, and you maybe haven't signed up with Underdog Fantasy yet, you can do so. Promo code FTN at sign up. That will get you a 50%. You make me bigger while we're waiting here. Get you a 50% deposit match bonus, and that's up to $250 with that promo code FTN. And if you use that promo code, you'll also get a special discounted pick in their pick'em games. Right? You see that top left of my screen. We'll make that bigger again here in a minute. Promo code FTN at sign up with Underdog. Take that free money, build your bankroll. And then again, you can always come over to FTN Fantasy, and our subscribers have access to our prize picks pick'em tool right now. Just MLB going on with that tool, but NFL, we are about we're less than a week away from NFL kickoff, right? Thursday. Can't wait for that. Hope everybody's drafts, your season-long drafts, maybe your best ball drafts on Underdog on the NFL side of things. Hope those have been going well. Had my main leagues already draft. Couple still to go in terms of the season-long. I'm done with my NFL best ball. I'm all NBA from here till the beginning of the hoops season. Still just waiting on one. If you're tuned in and you got the time, jump in this draft with us. So I said my 2 main leagues. There we go. 2 main leagues finished drafting. Actually, still in an auction for my 53-man roster dynasty league. Takes a while. UNC, show yourself, man. I know you're here. Chris gets the 101. There he is. Of course. Just waiting to rub it in my face. At least we're not directly next to each other this week, my friend. But yeah, I think, again, I'm still about like 15 drafts in. Very, very slow this season for me compared to last. I still have been really like all of the drafts I've done between last Friday and this week, I have had either the 7th or 8th pick. So I'll take the 4th gladly here. But I would love to be in that top 2, starting with the Joker or Wemby. I would like to know what that feels like. Good to see Mark in here. I know Mark was with us a lot last season in these live streams. You drafted Ben Simmons this year. I'm passing after getting burned so many years. Yeah, I actually think I have 1 share, and it was an auto draft, I think. But it was last round, so I don't hate that, right? If he was somehow able to, and we are underway, UNC going Wemby and Wesley going Jokic. If Simmons was able to stay healthy, he's on that tanking Nets team. I would love him in the last round then. I just don't have any confidence really that he's going to play much at all. But again, he's free at the end of your draft. So, Mark, we were speculating on him last year, right? As Giannis goes at the 1-3. I am going to go ahead again. I talk a lot about the hero big build, the scarcity among the wing players, but Luka, again, in his own tier here with the guards. So my ranks align exactly with the ADP of 4. So we'll go ahead. We'll make this a Luka draft. But yeah, Mark, like you remember when we were speculating on Ben Simmons at this point last year, where we were having to take him, right? I want to say it was like just into triple digits in terms of ADP. So again, he's still not somebody that I'm going to, if I ended with the 1 share that I have, again, like I said, that was by mistake. Then yeah, it would be fine. And I do see, I'm getting a little like Wi-Fi signal warning here on my end. So if that is, if the quality of this stream is degrading right now, I apologize. If any of you listening, Chris or Mark, if this is getting choppy for you guys on your end, just let me know. I don't know how much I can actually do about that at this moment. But just would like to know. Okay, Mark's his stream good on his end, so hopefully it stays that way and that this is just a little false alarm for me. Checking out the board here. Okay, so I went Luka. SGA goes off next in the 5 spot, then Embiid, then Tatum. So I imagine we will see bigs here. Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis. Again, if this is the first time you're tuning in, first time you've heard me talk best ball here this year, John Morant at 8. All right, so we're having fun here on a Friday. Domantas Sabonis goes 9. That's the highest I've seen John Morant go, for sure. Chris's stream's all good for him. Okay, sweet. Well, hey, man. Drafting and driving. Stay safe, my friend. Stay safe. At least that stream is coming through loud and clear. 10 spot using the entire 30-second clock here. And that means Anthony Davis goes 110. So for me, this would be Paolo Banchero, I believe. I've got him ranked 8th. And you see that ADP. I mentioned the ADP shifting week to week here between our live streams. And some of it is fairly drastic. Paolo, not much room for him to go up a ton, right? But I want to say he was like at 12.2 last week, 11.5 this week. So people catching on there. I still got him at 8, so still going to end up with a lot of Paolo relative to the field. 9 picks away here. Anthony Edwards goes 111. And we've got the 1-2 turn here. There goes Paolo at 12. Pretty good value. My pick here would be KD, although Scotty Barnes, in terms of ADP, would be next. ADP of 12.2. I've got him ranked 13th, so right there. Either of those wings I'm fine with, but that's one thing. We'll see what Chris S. Herno here will do. I would go double wing in his position. Either of those guys would be fine with, and he just goes with Scotty. So it looks like maybe those were both auto picks there, using up majority, if not all, the clock. LeBron at 14. I don't hate that. Again, scarcity of the wing position. You talk about scarcity at the wing position. Again, I don't have the full picture of who exactly in this draft is tuned in here to the stream. Seems like every other week, we get somebody that pops up in the middle, says, hey, I'm tuned in, and I'm pick, 6 or 7. I'm really hoping that at pick 21, Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam, Kevin Durant, that one of those guys will be there. Be fine with Chet as well at 21st overall. Get him, Şengün, Zion, kind of the end of that top tier of bigs. Again, you can segment those bigs below. Again, Jokic and Wemby kind of in their own tier. You could put Embiid at the end of that trio if you wanted to. I kind of see it as those top two. Then there's Embiid in the middle, and then you get Sabonis. You get Anthony Davis. Weisberg, good to see Mike in here. Mike, I don't know if you're in the draft with us right now, but how are you approaching bigs? Did a stream yesterday. It was interesting seeing how users approach getting 3 or 4 bigs. We have 4 different teams go 4 bigs. So, Mike, for me, especially the last, I want to say 2 years, maybe 3, I've been a big fan of kind of what we call the hero big build. And I know you're far from a stranger to best ball here, so forgive me if I'm, explaining this, just dumbing this down a little bit too much. I'm a huge fan of it still. The fact that some of these guys like a Sabonis and Anthony Davis, especially Chet, is up like 20 spots from where we were drafting him last year, maybe even a little more than that. It's less of a priority for me this year, partially because I think the field is catching on to kind of that hero big, right? You take an Embiid or a Jokic in the past at the top, and then you just grab 2 bigs late in the draft and fill out those guards and wings. As we're on deck here, Durant and Siakam just went off the board, so it is going to be either Jaylen Brown or Chet for me, and I am going to go with the Finals MVP. If I don't get one of these top bigs, Mike, I think this year I've been coming around more to having 4 bigs if I don't get some of these top guys, because I feel like the elite bigs have been pushed up in terms of their ADP. So like on last week's stream, I did end up with 4 bigs, and I'm trying to recall who my first big was. But I know I got Mark Williams right around, like 105, 110, whenever that was. I believe I picked up Zubac later on. So I think I'm going to end up probably with more 4 big builds this year than either of the last 2 years. Historically, if we're just talking about the last 2 or 3 years, I've been a much bigger fan of like the 7-6-3, 6-7-3 builds. Thanks for jumping in, though, Mike. Speaking of Mike, I don't know if Zakarian's listening in or not, but I'm going to be in his DM soon. Hopefully we can get a little home and home going. Hollywood Brown ruled out for week 1. We're back on deck here. UNC. So then UNC doing the opposite of the extreme here, right? And it is going to be Zion for me. Like I mentioned, I feel like that's a clear tier break for me between him in terms of the overall upside, right? I honestly don't know how I feel about Zion cutting the weight or so much weight in some of these pictures that I've seen, but it's still a month till training camp. I like Zion, and again, a guy who's slipping in ADP now, 31.1. But I feel pretty great about this start. Again, I'm a big fan of getting either those early wings or, like I said, one of the hero bigs. But Luka at 4 is right in line with my ranking. So when you go guard early, being able to fill in my wing 1 with Jaylen Brown and a big with Zion to start the third feels pretty nice. Kyrie at 31 overall. Russell Westbrook. Okay, so we're at the 8th spot. So that was who got Ja Morant. And truth legend here in the 8th spot. Look, if you're tuned in, I appreciate you tuning in, and no offense here, but did you just wake up out of a coma from like 3 or 4 years ago? I'm not sure. We go Ja at 8, we go Steph at 2.5, and we go Russell Westbrook at 3.8. Heck of a start there. Coming back around here in the 4th, DeJounte Murray, Damian Lillard at 38th overall. I like that. James Harden, Jalen Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr. Okay. Hoping that this draft isn't going to get canceled after. I know UNC knows something about that. So after Hardaway Jr. goes to truth legend, I mean, he knows the truth that we're all blind to. Cade Cunningham, Paul George. So by my ranks here, Kyle Kuzma, Evan Mobley, Karl-Anthony Towns, Franz Wagner, and there goes Franz. So, and again, I did want to mention while we're on stream here today, rankings update for best ball will come next week. So right here, I'm in between. I want to get another wing in between Kuzma and Jimmy. Those guys are going to be a little bit closer in the next rankings update. I was tinkering with some of those last night. But I am going to go ahead, get Kyle Kuzma here. A couple more pieces around him there in Washington this year compared to last. But still going to get his minutes, still going to get his usage. I like that in the 4th as my second wing, especially when I've got Luka and Zion in tow already. Let's see. UNC says, yeah. Truth legend, sniped Westbrook 8 rounds in front of him. There goes J-Dub. There's M. Wesley on the clock at the 2 spot. 2 guards, no wings, and a big so far. Get back to the board here. It's Brandon Miller. Wesley gets his wing. UNC has started Wemby, Chet. The Chemby start is pretty nice. I assume maybe last 2 rounds you pick up somebody, UNC, but probably done with the bigs there. And he goes Julius Randle, McCall Bridges, Josh Giddey. I knew you were going to do that. I was considering the Giddey on the way back. We've talked a lot about him, both on the fast break and here on the stream. So Jamal Murray doesn't sound too bad right about now. I am higher on him now, 10 picks higher in my ranks than his ADP of 58.2. Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Ingram also here. I'm not going to take Brandon Ingram. Definite tier break here. Kuminga, there's upside, but there's also a lot of bodies there in Golden State. So while I think Jonathan Kuminga should play more than he ever has this coming year, we'll see what Steve Kerr does, and we will see with Jonathan Kuminga not on this roster, Jamal Murray on the team at pick 52. Weisberg says, more than happy to have you. How do you feel about second slate of wings, Markkanen, Leonard, DeMar front? Strategy-wise, given the dearth of wings, I prefer to grab a wing over a big. I'm right there with you on the wings. DeMar, Franz by my rank would be my least favorite there, but where they're getting drafted, DeMar is my least favorite. Again, where they're all getting drafted, especially if you went big early, then kind of like you mentioned there, Mike, like those are the guys you're eyeing. Laurie, then Kawhi, then DeMar, then Franz for me. In a early third for DeMar, joining up with Fox and Sabonis. The whole Kings situation is just, I'm not ending up with a ton with it. Not ending up with a ton of them. And Wesley's, Matt Harris. Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, Knicks. Rather get Pods 50 picks later than Kuminga. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So Weisberg, now that I got you here, we've been kind of debating this. Who do you think starts at the 2 for the Warriors? It's probably Pods. I think it could be Melton, though. Depends on his back. It was his back injury, right? Late last season. I don't know if it was his back or his knee. All I know is it was not good. Also be interested to hear anybody's thoughts on Chris Middleton. We've had a debate both on the Fast Break podcast and here on the stream about Chris Middleton, how early you should take him, how late you can get him. Middleton's just one of the guys for me. I know his ADP is like early 90s. I think I've got him ranked late 60s. Again, if you're just wing needy at this point of the draft, I love getting him. And you're relying on the health there. I don't know if I can push him past UNC here at the turn, but I think that's what I'm going to try to do. Because I like me some Cam Thomas here. I like me some Darius Garland. I think it is going to be Cam Thomas here on the Nets. I just like getting Nets. Like I'm less excited to get to, even though I just took him, Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson, Nick Claxton, the starters, right? Because I think these guys could and probably will be shut down in those playoff weeks. But still getting them, six picks after ADP, 6 picks away from where I have him in my ranks. I can't pass on Cam. Human torch there, Cam Thomas. See what UNC does. Only one guard in the stables right now. Let's see. Pods. Yeah, fair. And again, like, it may be Melton if they're competing for something. And again, that something might be a play-in berth. But it's definitely more important to give these minutes to Podziemski, give these minutes to Kuminga, to a lesser extent, Moses Moody, right? Just the young guys that they have there. UNC goes D White, Denny Avdia at the turn. Matt goes Jalen Duren, 7-2. So we're back on deck here. Yeah, Amin Thompson, Chris Middleton here. Obviously, I have Chris Middleton 2 spots ahead in my ranks. But because UNC, and I don't know if Matt is tuned in here, and Weisberg, to be honest, I don't know if you're in here. I don't think so. See if I can grab Middleton on the flippity flip here in the 8th. We'll see. We'll go Amin Thompson. Love that wing eligibility. And it's correct. If they had multi-position eligibility here in best ball, he would certainly be one. Westbrook not in this draft. Well, probably good for those of us who are, my friend. We'll pull up the board. Little run of guards here. After we go Amin Thompson, Jordan Poole, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Kyle Lowry. So, truth legend. Really killing this draft. In more ways than one. Claxton goes at 81. Devin Vassell. And I still think that's pretty good value where you can get him. Don't think it's going to hurt him to play at least to the trade deadline with Chris Paul. Darius Garland at 7-11 feels like pretty darn good value. Twisted Fantasy there in the 11th spot. Guards, got Anthony Edwards, Damian Lillard, Fred VanVleet, Darius Garland, LeBron and Markkanen on the wings, Rudy Gobert in the middle. Nice little team in the 11th spot. Yeah, Mike, but you're also like, you're not Truth Legend taking Russell Westbrook in the 3rd round. Coming back around here in the 8th, hoping that James Christian Middleton falls to pick 93. Austin Reeves off the board right after Keegan Murray. So I like the 3 wings start there in the 12 slot. Paolo, Scotty, Kawhi. The guards, like taking DeJounte over Damian Lillard is not something I would do there. Jalen Green in the 5th, Vooch, Keegan Murray, Austin Reeves. Not terrible. The guards are just like less than exciting to me. All right, we are on deck after Simons, Ayton, Barrett, D'Lo, Kristaps, and OG. So Middleton will be the pick if he is not selected here. Pretty soon. So we're going to get Middleton on the team here. Probably my highest drafted player at this point. Might be Chris Paul, just how much Chris Paul I got in my early drafts when he was like in the 140s, 130s. We're going to start thinking about shoring up the bigs here behind Zion pretty soon. So we're coming around on the 8-9 turn here. I'm going to do a little review after we get our 9th round pick in. And Chris Middleton at 93rd overall. UNC on the clock here for 2 as Nurkic and Oscar Thompson go off the board after me. Sorry, answering a text here. Getting some tickets straight for tomorrow. Those who know me know I'm an MLS sicko. Austin and Vancouver tomorrow. Big game in the Western Conference playoff race. We're back on the clock here. I think the smart pick is to go Jay Val or Mark Williams here. But I'm going to live a little dangerously because I love getting wing-eligible Trace Jackson Davis at pick 100. Yes, if Weisberg's still here, Mike, what do you think happens in the Warriors front court? Is it Draymond at the 5 or is TJD in there? I got a lot of Trace Jackson Davis as well. Just text my buddy. All right, we'll pull up the board. So in between my Middleton and Jackson Davis picks, Nurkic, Oscar Thompson, UNC goes CJ McCollum, Tyler Hero. Shoring up the guards, I like that. Again, I've made my Scoot Henderson pitch. Matt grabs Scoot Henderson. I like that pick in the 9th round. We're moving quick here. Then Josh Hart before me. I talked my crap about the Josh Hart pick on the fast break on Monday, so we don't need to rehash that. After I took Jackson Davis, Grant Collins, Trey Murphy III, Derek Lively, Terry Rozier, PJ Washington, Colin Sexton, and Jonas Valanciunas round out the 9th round. Starting the 10th, Drew Holiday, Zach Edey, Keontae George, Bradley Beal, Isaiah Hartenstein, Keldon Johnson, Jeremy Sohan. I'm on deck. And I would hope, let's see, Jason947 has Shangoon. Did not take a big, so that worked out perfectly. Wanted one of Jay Valor, Mark Williams to come back to me. A couple picks above ADP, but about 12 behind where I have him ranked. Mark Williams, I will take him. And fingers crossed that his back holds up this year. Yeah, I get hit. UNC hits me with the calm down, Greg. It's soccer. Anytime I bring it up. Anytime. I've never had a team, UNC. Let me have this. Never had a team in my hometown until soccer came around. Mark says, Jackson Davis is a starter at center, but wing on UD is like a cheat code. Yeah, I mean, I have a ton of Jackson Davis. The ADP keeps creeping up, but I don't think it's high enough. Weisberg's saying, good question. Warriors management kind of iffy on if Jackson Davis will start. Prefer Draymond super late. Yeah, and Draymond, again, big eligible, but getting him that late, I agree. Unsure on the minutes. See, I think for me too, Weisberg at this point, it's like at some point, right? At some point this season, we're going to get Jackson Davis starting at the 5. And it's going to feel good on all these teams where he's wing eligible. At least is the way I'm treating it. Better options at the wing to Mike in that spot. When I'm on deck here again, after Mark Williams, Rishache, Pajemski, Buzelis, Ivy, Herb Jones. We need to dive back into some guards here. I know exactly who I'm going to take. At some point, I'm going to have to stop drafting these Chris Paul shares. But that day is not today. We'll get the starting point guard for the Spurs. And his, 8 to 12 assists to Wembanyama every game. In my dream world. What's going on with Wiggins? Last 2 years have been weird. Yeah, man. I don't know specifically what it is. I don't know if anybody else knows. I think the last person I heard talking about it was Zach Lowe, and he said he knows what the deal is with Wiggins. Like, he's got the personal issues going on, and he said it's like Lowe kind of just hinted that it's like really serious and something, I guess it came off as like very understanding. Yeah, family issue, dad. Yeah, I have heard something to do with his dad. UNC big FIFA guy. We'll have to settle our best ball differences on the sticks. So 11-12 turn here after we took Chris Paul, Jakob Pertl, Naz Reid, Cam Johnson, Stephon Castle, Ivica Zubac, run of bigs here. Dante DiVincenzo, Alex Sarr, Walker Kessler, Reed Shepard, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clint Capella, then Dennis Schroeder. A few more picks till we're back on the clock. Malik Monk goes off the board. Shaedon Sharpe goes off the board. Kelly Oubre Jr. off the board, and we're on deck. What are the bigs looking like here? Like Mike mentioned earlier, you've got Draymond down there, ADP 149. Mitchell Robinson. We had a discussion about Andre Drummond last week, and ADP 171. I know UNC knows, and anybody else that tunes in regularly, that it is really going to pain me to not click Tari Eason here. But I'm going to take who I think is the starting point guard for the Phoenix Suns, and Tyus Jones here in the 12th round. Between him and Suggs there at guard for sure. Yeah, Edie and Sarr is a bold move, very much so. Gafford, then Eason. So Matt grabs Eason. I might like his team a little bit better than mine. We'll see. But yeah, Edie and Sar already had Gobert there on the team as well in the 11 spot. UNC grabbed Strus. So that is still, of course, the two bigs up top. Then he grabs Suggs. Coming back around here to start the 13th round, we need 4 more players. 5-5-2 build thus far. And those bigs still on the board. Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis. So those Bucks teammates still there. Wings, Cam Whitmore, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Caruso, Marcus Smart. This is probably just going to be Brook Lopez for me. And then we'll take some guard and wing swings to close out the draft. We'll take Brolo. And I think you really saw the fantasy efficiency take a dip last year for Brolo. Yeah, Sar was horrendous at Summer League. And he just, he didn't profile as this overwhelmingly awesome statistical fantasy asset in the NBL last year. So if you can't come in and grab like an alpha role on your NBL team, like are you really going to be able to do that in the league? Maybe, but I just don't think it's next year. I think the best case for drafting Sar is that they start resting guys, and just like at the end of Summer League, right, they let him run a little bit longer than their other young assets. But holy cow, I really feel for Wizards fans, man. I do. He does not look good. You remember when LaMelo was out there, right? When he was in the NBL, he was toying with that league. At least from some of the games that I watched. Good to see Jeff here. Glad to see you're streaming double dribble drafts again. Finished top 2 in all of our shared rooms last year. 40% advance rate and a top 100 finisher. Good results for me last year. Yeah, well done, Jeff. Yeah, last year, like I talked about last week, last year was the first year in the last 3, maybe 4, at least 3 years that I hadn't gotten at least one team to the final. But man, yeah, well done by you. Let's run it back this year. I want to see somebody in these drafts up at the top. If it's not me, one of you. Oh, dude, I would love to. I guess my next question, Weisberg, is when you guys went this year, did you do any of the Top Shot stuff? UNC said he was between Tyus and Suggs. Yeah, fine with either of those guys at that point. Very best ball friendly. John Boy and TST. Nice. And Jeb. I did see Jeb. I think they were talking about him on one of the broadcasts again because he was wearing the bear. Okay, so we are back on the clock here. And I think this is I'm going to go ahead and get my guy, Noah Clowney here. Again, with the thought that Brooklyn going to be resting guys. The tank's going to be turned up to 11 really right from the start. Maybe not right from the start, but you know what I'm getting at. We talked about Clowney. We talked about Sharp. We talked about Jalen Wilson last week. Like getting that Brooklyn exposure late in the draft. 2 picks remaining. Coming around here, 14-15 turn. So Matt and Chris here, 4 straight picks. So Wizards, forever lottery. Yeah, man. But hey, if they're like, again, after last year, rather than that Wemby, Scoot, Brandon Miller draft, then we kind of had the down year this year, at least on paper. Next year, man, you want to be in the lottery next year. Eric in here saying, slow-mo sleeper pick. Don't listen to the fast break from Monday, my friend. I gave a whole case on why I don't want the slow-mo pick late on. So maybe share some of your thinking there. what turns me off to Kyle Anderson late in these drafts is that I just don't think he has like a week winning type of upside. Like, I feel like there would be so much that has to go wrong for the Warriors, right for my slow-mo pick, and then he has to produce at a level where he ends up in my top 2 wings or my flex spot. But again, we're picking guys in the 15th, 16th round here. If you've got a case for a guy, pick him. Shakira Austin ruled out tomorrow. We're back in the clock here. There's Ben Simmons. There's Bub Carrington. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Bub. We're talking tank team guys here now. Caruso is staring me in the face, but again, like, is Caruso ever gonna make? Especially with Luka on my team, is Caruso ever gonna make? No, I didn't. Get back in there. Okay. That was odd. Did I miss 2 consecutive picks? We got 1 pick left here. And again, I think with Zion, Mark Williams, Brook Lopez. How much Brooklyn is too much Brooklyn? Because I do like Day'Ron Sharpe here in the 16th round, but I've already got Noah Clowney. He's like those guys could cannibalize each other a little bit. I like Ron Holland here in the last round. Brandon Clark's not crazy. Mitch Robinson also not crazy. Trey Jones I will not take. Got Chris Paul in the fold. Khalil Ware. Koljovic. Delano Banton again. You look at Portland as a team that's going to be resting guys down the stretch. See, Jeff says, I like those late round picks. Yeah, Noah Clowney fit. I agree. Slow-mo forever average. Hey, I'm a slow-mo fan, but he's been dealing with those back issues throughout his career, and they really flared up last year. It felt like to me that had a pretty big effect on him being I think he just produced. He looked a little bit worse than I expected him to there in his last season with Minnesota. Weisberg said, Dapper invited us to a pool party at MGM. Your money at work. Then we had an event at a restaurant where we met Buzelis. Nice. I like Buzelis, at least listening to him in those pre-draft interviews. We're pretty down on Top Shot, but hey, I'm right there with you, my friend. If they invited me to events, yeah, I'd go. Love Khalil Ware, yeah. I'm on the clock to close it out here. Looks like somebody took Ware. So I don't really want to Ben Simmons. Delano Banton could be it. Ron Holland could be it. Day'Ron Sharpe could be it. I think we're going to go all in on the Nets here, tanking Nets on this draft. So we're going to end up with 3 guys from Brooklyn. We're going to have Cam Thomas. We're going to have Noah Clowney. And we're going to have Day'Ron Sharpe. So let's see. We can pull up. We got 3 more picks here. UNC closes us out. It just gave me the autopilot notice again. I don't get that. Would not be the first time that the Underdog UI did something screwy here, at least on desktop. There goes Ron Holland to Matt at 191 and UNC, Mr. Irrelevant. Delano Banton. Let's pull that one back up, shall we? All right. I honestly don't know why I closed out of that. Those are the rankings. Here's our draft. All right, we can go to the board, take a look at some of these teams. Weisberg says likes Christian Brown or KCP here. Yeah. Mike Randall and myself were debating Christian Brown or Julian Strawther. Like, I do think Brown is the starter, at least to begin the year, right? is it crazy to think that Julian Strother could overtake him? Or just even off the bench is a better fantasy asset? I don't know. Maybe. Too much exposure to those two. And Gary Trent Jr. That's an interesting last round pick there. In Milwaukee now, right? Free agency market did not do him any favors. Hopefully, has a solid year and can get a longer term deal above the minimum after this season. UNC said, hope this doesn't get tossed. Yeah. Let's see what Truth the Legend did first here, or Truth Legend. John Morant, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, Tim Hardaway Jr., Seth Curry, Al Horford, Kyle Lowry, D'Angelo Russell, Derek Lively, Isaiah Hartenstein, Stephon Castle, the first wing there in round 11. Then Malik Monk, Jaden McDaniels, Patrick Williams, Corey Kispert, DeAndre Hunter. And that's certainly helped the rest of us out here. I was drafting out of the 4 spot. Went Luka Doncic, Jamal Murray, Cam Thomas, Chris Paul, Tyus Jones, Bub Carrington are the guards at wing. Jaylen Brown, Kyle Kuzma, Amin Thompson, Chris Middleton, Trace Jackson Davis, and Noah Clowney. And we did go 4 bigs for the second week in a row here. Zion at 28th overall, Mark Williams at 117, Brooke Lopez at 148, and Day'Ron Sharpe there in round 16 to close it out. We ended up with 3 nets. So we need that tank to go just right. A lot of Cam Thomas throughout the season, and then a lot of Clowney and Sharpe down the stretch. UNC was drafting out of the 1 spot, went 2 big, then snuck in Kelly O at the end. So bigs, Wemby, Chet, and Kelly O. Guards of Josh Giddey, Derek White, CJ McCollum, Tyler Hero, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Suggs. Wings, Julius Randle, McCall Bridges, Denny Avdia, Mattis Buzelis, Max Strus, Taylor Hendricks, and Delano Banton. And I like all those. Dyson Daniels also went at 190. So like these picks to close out the draft, I think the last 5 really. And you see Khalil Ware also go to start round 16. Dalton Connect in there as well. Jovic, Sharpe, Daniels, Holland, Banton. Those are all guys that I've been sprinkling here in rounds 15 and 16. I don't think we had anybody else in this draft. We'll see. Yeah, I said, yeah, it's getting tossed 100%. Russ, THJ, Seth. So unfortunate, but let's see. Anyone want to jump in another? We could do that. Anybody in the chat up for another? Because if nobody wants to jump in, I can shut it down. But if we want to draft again, nice. Weisberg will jump in. That's all I need to see. We'll go double dribble. We'll jump in. Waiting for 5 here. UNC in as well. See what we can do here. While we're waiting, answer a couple of texts. Waiting on 3. $50. Nice. Got that worked out. Waiting on 2. Okay. Look at Matthew Harrison hiding in the chat. Good to see you, man. Nice draft there. UD taking a minute to log in. Well, it was putting me on auto draft after every pick to close that one out, so. Jeff said, need to maintain my 100% record against you. All right. This is exactly why I said we could run one back. Let's all get in here. How about a pick 1 or 2 for me? For once. Get me a Wemby, get me a Jokic. Also haven't been on the back end there on the turn, 11 or 12. Wouldn't mind that either. Just waiting on 1 here. We'll get 2 drafts in here today. heading into the long weekend. Mark Andrews seen participating in practice today. That is very good for almost all of the teams I've drafted so far for my season long. Some of them are, dynasty or keeper, but now give me the Jamar Chase practicing tweet, please. All right, waiting on one. I enjoy the 11-12 turn, says Chris. Can make some really good teams, even without the top 5 studs. Yeah, I mean, my thought there, if I'm sitting on the turn, is trying to get 2 of those wings, right? Like, by ADP, you should be, you probably have a good chance of grabbing Paolo, and then your choice of who's down there, Bron and Scotty, KD, right? Nice, Weisberg is in. Downside of being in this room is, yeah, I mean, the rooms do, especially when we run the second one here, and most of the guys participating here in the chat get in. It makes it tough to talk about what I'm going to do, my thoughts before I make these picks as well, because it's going to get sniped. I also really enjoy, when we get a nice group in here on a Friday afternoon and chopping it up and hearing the different takes on certain guys that I'm maybe a little higher, a little lower than the field on. Having people come in and say, hey, I think that's wrong. Being able to bounce these takes off each other, I think, helps us all in the long run. Because we're all not doing 150 drafts together, right? So we can do a couple on a Friday afternoon, or on I guess we say all Friday afternoons, right? Because we're here every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, doing these double dribble drafts leading up to tip-off of the regular season. And like I mentioned, I am so far behind in my drafting this year compared to the last couple. So you're going to see me in a ton of these rooms between now and the end of October. So on the turn, even if you grab 2 guards, you still have a good chance of getting 2. Yeah, for sure, right? Because then you could go kind of to that group that Weisberg was talking about, right? With your DeMar and Kawhi and Markkanen, and Franz and Kyle Kuzma. Then you start to get to Kumingas, Tobias Harris. Here's a hot take. I'm 100% Anthony Bennett. Well, that's tough. Just one more, my friends. Don't be shy. Step right up. We want to get this draft moving. We can fire a message into, let's see. See if anybody in the FTN Fantasy Discord and the NBA channel wants to jump in. We'll see. Yeah, Jeff, especially before NFL kicks off, right? Once we get to next Sunday, I think the week after that, you'll start to see these rooms fill up a little bit quicker, but it really doesn't start to take off where you can jump in a draft, in usually 2-3 minutes. That's usually October. Just less interest, right? Oh, and our buddy Shazam in the chat says if he didn't have a meeting in 5 minutes, he'd jump in with us. Still waiting on one. That was the first time Mark Andrews practiced since the car accident. Good to see him back out there. Oh, nice. We just need one, yeah. Players I like and hate at ADP. Well, it depends on what part of the draft we're talking about, Jeff, but here's a link to my first run of ranks that went up last week. Put that into the chat right there. And like I said, we'll get an update on those early next week. Already been tinkering around with some of those. I think when we were talking about was it Kuzma and Jimmy Butler, those guys are like 6 or 7 spots apart in my first runner ranks, and those guys did come closer together last night when I was messing with those. See, Matt says, I gotta say, one player I'm way out on at their ADP is Porzingis. Might play a couple of months. Can't see him playing back-to-backs or much more than 25 minutes per game. Yeah, and that reminds me, that is the first big that I took last week after loading up on wings early and then kind of solidifying guards, and ended up with 4 bigs. But Porzingis was my first one. And yeah, it does not feel great. Because, like, best case, he's back by Christmas, right? And I think they're not going to have any reason to rush him back. So I'm expecting January. It's a good point that he would probably be limited, probably not play back-to-backs, at least for the first couple of weeks. And best ball regular season ends in February, I believe. This is a decent take. Chris says, what play-in-ish team do you think has a chance to be a tanking team this year? San Antonio. We usually have one competitive team that completely falls off the rails. So, yeah, should have read the second sentence there, because I would not consider the Spurs. Like, they're going to try to compete for one of those spots, but are any of us really surprised if, again, like, being in the lottery this year is good for them? You know, I don't really see them being in that bottom 5 in the league, but I wouldn't put it past them. I don't think Victor would be happy. I don't think I'd put it past them to shut things down, a la the Mavericks a couple years ago when they tried to keep, they wanted to keep their pick, could have made it into the play-in, but decided to tank it. Ended up getting Derek Lively out of it. But in terms, like, to actually answer your question here, Clippers. But they don't control their picks, right? So they won't. They shouldn't. I mean, we're talking West, right? Because, like, there's a pretty clear divide, I think, in the East. KP will be back by December, allegedly. Yeah, I think that's best case, right? Jeff says, I do have a Porzingis team, but it was 4 big. Yeah. Same. That's exactly how mine worked out last week. And Porzingis was also my first big, too, which, again, really doesn't feel good. Yeah, but Mike saying Utah will compete early and then tank. I just don't know if they have enough to, like, really, quote unquote, compete. I don't think they're as good to start this season as they have been each of the last 2, specifically 2 years ago, right, when they were like top 5 in the West for a couple months. I think them and Portland, like, Portland is worse off, I think, at this point with their talent. I think that's fair to say. But yeah, and Hendricks, smart takes late. I agree. I would rather have Hendricks than like a Cody Williams. I think just a little bit more ready. Obviously got a year on him in terms of his experience in the league. Yeah, Clippers won that tank. Plus they have a new arena. Yeah, Matt saying, as a Pistons fan, tanking can be the smart move, but those lottery balls, yeah, man. I mean, I know you're tired of seeing number 5 come up, but, like, I also think the Pistons are a team that, like, you probably don't have to work that hard to tank. And also at this point, like, am I really still waiting for one here? Oh, we got 180 something people tuned in here across YouTube and Twitter. Let's get somebody in this draft. Let's get rolling. I'm not sure, Matt. I'm not sure that the Pistons have to do much to end up, in that bottom 5 or 6. They just I don't know. You gotta hope. What's his name? Frank Vincent, I think, is the shooting coach that they hired away from New Orleans. You gotta hope he's a magician. I know he's very, very good. And again, you, if you're a team that doesn't have a legit shot at a championship in the next couple of years, this really feels like a draft where you, again, until they change the rules, the most advantageous thing for you to do as an average to below average team is to try to get up into the top of that lottery. I know all of you, I'm preaching to the choir here. Clips are Hawks for me, but yeah, it doesn't make any sense for those to fully tank. And that's the problem with the Hawks too, right? Like you said, Spurs own their draft until 2020, the next 3 years, which I appreciate. Basically every team in the East is in tank mode, right? I mean, you've got the top tier of teams that are all competing, right? Of course, defending champs. Bucks are going to be back. Philly, of course, refueled. Knicks, adding Bridges. They're going to be just a B to play against. Still waiting on one. Let me see if I can get somebody to jump in here. We went from waiting for 5 to waiting for 1 in about 30 seconds, I feel like, and then yeah, this again. I've been waiting for one. If you guys weren't talking to me here, and nobody bringing up, I would be refreshing my page, thinking how in the world are we waiting this long? Mike says this is an incredible draft. Yeah, between Flag and Bailey, Edgecombe, Harper, and even in the next draft too. Bailey and Harper playing together at Rutgers. Yeah, and this is where I rely on the wisdom of Mike Randall to give me the scouting reports on these guys playing at the college level. I start watching that film in March. Maybe February the last couple of years with the way my favorite team has been. Should put the headband on your UD icon so everyone knows you're a basketball best baller. It's a good idea. I did change from one of the other dog outlines to a poodle last week. Since the great Wemby, of course, is a poodle. Still waiting for one. I could have went and made a sandwich while we were waiting for this second draft. We're going to make somebody's day, though. Somebody is going to jump in to a double dribble draft, as I frequently do. Just checking on how many are we waiting for? They're going to be the last person in. The draft's going to start right away. And it's going to make their Friday afternoon. Advance, yeah, we'll be very, yep. So I was Weisberg after the Olympics, a couple weeks ago, debating with a buddy on who's going to, like, what the makeup of the 2028 roster is going to be. And that's where he and I differed, is on some of these younger guys. I just think we still, like, while we're probably going to see the old guard cycle out, Braun, of course, Steph, KD. I know Braun said he won't, but you can't 100% say that all of those guys aren't going to play. But I also think on the other end of the extreme, some of these young guys just aren't, like, again, I agree with you, really fucking good, but I just don't know if I see them making the 2028 roster. You need an update. Yeah. I know. I've probably got one on my phone here. I could drop it into the FTN Fantasy Discord. He left the room, came back. Yeah, still waiting for one. Less hype than Cooper. Could be, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Interesting. Huh. See, I guess the Celtics fans are clearly, like, more up in arms, more locked into everything that has gone or did go on around that. But I don't know, man. Like, somebody wasn't going to play. Jaylen Brown didn't even get on the team. Yeah, I mean, like, what? Almost like unless I miss something, I would be upset if Jason Tatum didn't play. Like, that's going to be his time, man. Right? It's one of the big reasons he didn't play a ton out there, was because we just have the old guard really kind of in his position. And we're just not good, right? We're not good enough anymore to just run out any 5 players of our 12. He said afterwards that he'll, quote, evaluate if he wants to play in 28, which should be a massive red flag for Grant Hill. Yeah, I mean, it's not good. But at the end of the day, man, like, that's going to be his time. And if he passes that up, I would be disappointed in him, which I'm sure really hurts his feelings. But yeah, I mean, I understand you just won the title. I understand that you didn't play a ton. It's frustrating. I get it. But, like, the way he responds to that, man, is just like, I just think it'll be a little bit telling. So, you go up a level, you get knocked back down the totem pole. Unless you're like an all-timer, right? And he'll be closer to the top 3.5 years from now. I totally get where his frustration would be coming from. Do you do any NFL best ball drafts on Underdog? I do. I haven't streamed any this year. We have plenty of guys that are more knowledgeable about NFL than me. I would still consider myself, like, above average, certainly to the general population. But no NFL best ball streams for me this year. It was like a week and a half ago. Alex and Sam did a DraftKings best. They did a high stakes 555, I think. So you can go back on this channel on Alex Blickle or Sam Chowdhury's Twitters. They'd have that stream there. Still waiting for one. See, Weisberg said Tatum already won 2 golds, got the title. He might have multiple titles by then, but on the flip side, it's in LA. Marketing wise, there's massive upside. Yeah, but again, like JaVale McGee and Keldon Johnson also have a gold. I would just think I would be super disappointed if he, because like I would, when me and my buddy Thomas were going through the what we thought the roster would look like. Tatum's a starter. Like we need him out there. See UNC in the FTN Discord trying with me to round up a 12th drafter here. This is taking so long that I picked up a call from a telemarketer. I got a telemarketing call a couple minutes ago. Did not picking those up though. Don't mark me as responsive. We need to start. Anybody want to set a line on what the time will be when we finally get this filled? All right, Aaron. Ticket. Still waiting on one. While we are waiting, go accept this ticket. Love it. Going to do my last baseball mania after this. A little frustrating at this weight. So this is 150 for you coming up this afternoon, Jeff, for BBM. I saw that Neil Orfield was doing his 150 or finishing his 150 this morning with Overzet. Yep, me too, man. All right, get my tickets taken care of. UNC. So I'm proud to say I've not done one fantasy football draft this year. Nothing at all, UNC? Just best ball. Surely you're in a season-long league, right? Not to say that you have, you may not have drafted a season-long yet. We still got 6 days. I'm going to go to the grocery store, get groceries for the week while waiting for this draft. I could have gone there and back in this time that we've been waiting. Let's see, Jeff says, I don't max enter a contest, wouldn't be fun for me, but they're enough to responsibility to take into account for random teams. All right. That's fair enough. 0 drafts at all. Burned out after playing so much the last few years, just NBA drafts this year. Damn, no season long? I couldn't do it. But UNC, are you gonna do like some of the weekly drafts here on Underdog? Anything like that? You're just sticking NBA basketball. And also, have you slowed down on the NBA drafts at all, man? For the uninitiated, Chris came in here last week and said he was already 100 NBA drafts in. At that point, was with 2 months to go to the season. I cannot believe we are still waiting. All right. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to mute. I'm going to turn on some little background tunes. And I'm going to go use the restroom while we wait. And hopefully we're waiting for one, y'all. So if you're tuned in, I will be right back in about 30 seconds. Oh, look at that timing. We sit back down. We get our 12th drafter. Matt at the 101. Weisberg to follow at the 2. I, of course, can't get up top. Can't get at the turn. We're drafting 5th. And UNC going to be at the turn here. UNC at the turn at the 112. The magical bathroom run does it again. We're off and running here in 30 seconds. We'll have great stories to tell our grandkids about how we waited an eternity for one person to enter an NBA basketball room. Lower stakes. Okay, yeah, 1 to 2. Now you're pacing yourself. I like it. You got the early values in there. I know we were talking about it in July, early August. And we're off and running. Interested to see where Matt... Okay, so Matt is a Jokic over Wemby guy here. I still lean slightly that way for basketball. Weisberg, Giannis. Explain yourself. Oh, Jeff at the 6th spot. The accidental victory. All right, well, we're going to battle, my friend. Well, I am jealous of the 3 spot here, landing Wemby. Looks like they autoed into him. I would love it if Lou 311 went Luka here, went chalk, so we can change it up from last draft. Because if Luka's there, okay, there goes Luka. So we're going to start Joel Embiid. So we can build out a little hero big here. We'll go ahead and keep things moving here. Pass it on to Jeff at the 6th spot. Jeff goes SGA. Tatum at 7. I think Smolson, 31, was in the draft with us last time. So was Twisted. I think Twisted Fantasy was 10th or 11th in the last draft as well. And then we got UNC at the turn. Sabonis at 8. See, UNC talking earlier while we were waiting about how he was a fan of picking at the turn here. Gonna have some very solid options regardless. And that's saying picking 1, 2, and 1, 1 is ideal when you're at work. Yeah, no doubt, man. Not a bad early afternoon for you. Just depending on where you are, my friend. The Brow goes at the 9 spot. Twisted Fantasy on the clock. In one of my slow drafts, just noticed, almost jumped in this one, but I'm getting in NFL right now. Well, good luck with the NFL drafts, Eric. And, you know, you can get second in that slow draft or run together. Anthony Edwards at the 10. Oh, Paolo at the 11. So UNC still going to get some very, very fine choices here at the 1-2 turn, but I think he's with me on Paolo being like pretty awesome value there at 12. Scotty Barnes. We'll see what he does with Trae Young. Okay. Give me the case for Trae, Chris, if you're in a spot where you can type. So I think for me, it's still KD there and a double wing. But also, I know this is draft 102 for you. So maybe just switching things up. Again, it's not a bad pick, just from a roster construction standpoint. See, Mike says, the thought process behind Giannis is I have decent exposure to Wemby, wanted to try. And how nice that must be, getting a pick in the top 2 and having so much Wemby that I'll go Giannis. I just want some shares of either of those guys. I got Wemby in that slow draft. Okay. Well, then I know what to go look for and find you in there, Eric. Given the lack of wings, I don't know. It's not crazy. I'm just biased in that instance. Like, again, I named my dog Wemby 9 months before the Spurs won the lottery. I'm a little biased. You also got to think Giannis again, like, probably going to have a little bit of a bounce back year here. And it's not like he was bad at all statistically last year. UNC, a very little Trae, more upside without DJ, that's for sure. Should have the ball in his hand. Yeah. He could end up looking, at the early to mid second round where he's going. Oh boy, I'm on the clock. Didn't even notice. I'm going to do a UNC. We're going Embiid, Chet, and no other bigs. And that's not risky at all because those guys never get hurt. Ooh, Lou 311 after my own heart. Kawhi at 2.9. You can see the guards starting to kind of stack up here at the top of the draft board, rather. See what everybody's doing here to start. So the 7 spot went Tatum and Jaylen Brown, which I have done on one team so far. And I wasn't a huge fan of it at the end of the day. But it's better than, picking Russell Westbrook in the 3rd round. So after I took Chet and Kawhi went, Jalen Brunson, De'Aaron Fox to Mike. Now Matt has the Joker in tow, takes Julius Randle with his 2nd pick. And on the clock here at 3-1, takes Spider Mitchell. And we're coming back around with Mike on the clock here at 3-2. I'd be a big fan of getting LaMelo here at 29. Again, I'm about 10 spots higher in my ranks on him compared to ADP. I wish I could X out the entire big position just so there's no chance that, I lose connection and auto another big. That Chet ADP is coming up too. And it was at 22 last week. Şengün goes at 27. Yes, it's going to be LaMelo at 29 here. And then we got to figure out what to do with the wings. UNC says, I've taken John and Hallie a bunch earlier in drafts, so mixing it up a little bit with the Trey. Yeah, and Matt saying, not trying to draft the same team as last time. I'm with you. Oh, yeah, and you got Joker last time because Chris went Wemby. To see Jeff taking Bam there at 3-6. Then Steph Curry goes off the board. We're just going to go ahead and cue these wings up here. Also, good job by the field, although I, have enjoyed other people taking them earlier. DeMar DeRozan falling precipitously here. I believe was ADP like 27.8 last week, if I recall correctly. Now 32.3 here, just a week later. Put Jimmy in there. Not terrible to take any of those guys out. 9 picks away. So you can get thin. Again, drafting those 2 bigs early. So after Bam and Steph went Lauri Markkanen. Zion at 33rd overall. It's not bad. Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham off the board. Now UNC adds DeMar DeRozan. See that? DeMar at 36, I like a lot more than the DeMar at 26, 27, 28, what we were seeing last week. Almost a full round difference there. And then James Harden. Jalen Johnson at 4-2. DeJounte Murray at 4-3. Damian Lillard, making our way here. 2 big, 2 guard start there for John Brooks in the 9 spot. So we're going to get one of these wings here. Kuzma, Wagner, Jimmy loaded up in the queue, 2 picks away from our 4th rounder. Kyrie, not a bad consolation prize there if we weren't able to pick up one of these wings. Franz goes at the 4-6. Now we've got Jeff on the clock here at 4-7. 1-1-1 so far. And he goes Miles Bridges. So I went Kuzma last draft. We'll go Jimmy. In the spirit of what Matt said last round, not trying to draft the same team. So we'll go Jimmy there at 44th overall. Brandon Ingram off the board next. Starting Giannis, Fox, Booker is pretty fun. I agree. Getting Booker in the 3rd is nice. Like to have 2 elite wings, 2 elite guards, and now I have a ton of options or elite wing, 2 elite guards, and a ton of options at 47. And Mike, those options right now: Kyrie, Kyle Kuzma, Karl-Anthony Towns, Josh Giddey, Jamal Murray, McCall Bridges, and it is McCall Bridges. Again, that's a guy that the field is higher on than I am. Matt says, any guys you won't draft because of how you feel about them personally? Personally, like on the court or off the court? If we're talking about off the court antics, I could care less. I'm playing fantasy to score fantasy points, not worry about my morals and values. You could see that by how much Miles Bridges I drafted last year when he was going at like 110, 120 or whatever it was. Were you asking that because you drafted Josh Giddey? Matt, because we've talked about Giddey. I'm still a decent amount higher than the field on Josh Giddey landing in Chicago there. So we're back on the clock here. Jamal Murray available. Jonathan Kuminga. A lot of these guards I like, but between Murray and Kuminga, I think it's going to be Jamal. But it's close. The wings could end up being an issue here for me. We'll see how it plays out. Weisberg said, course strat. Starting Giannis, it provides a ton of options in round 4 through 6. I was worried starting with a guard, but my team is coming together well so far. So Jeff Scott went SGA at the 6, Pascal Siakam, Bam Adebayo, Miles Bridges, Emmanuel Quickly. Yeah, not a bad start. And Weisberg, Giannis, Fox, Booker, McCall Bridges, grabbed Karl Anthony Towns there here in the 5th round after Matt went Giddey and Kuzma on the turn. So then Matt started with the Joker. He's got Randall and Kuzma on the wing, Spider, and Josh Giddey at the guards. Strong starts. And it doesn't look like, checking through the other teams, it doesn't look like we have any, what was it, Truth Legend, whatever his name was. So, tough room, and we're not getting any favors either by anybody drafting crazy. UNC here now, 2-2-0 through his first 4 rounds rather. Cam Thomas. I guess we do like the closest thing to a wild draft right now is John Brooks out of the 9 spot. Already got 3 bigs in the first 5 rounds. Anthony Davis, Zion, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Then John Morant and Damian Lillard at guard. So, if he can salvage that wing spot, like the other 2 are taken care of. UNC goes Jared Allen, then Miles Turner. So those 3 teams that don't have a big yet, all 3 of them joining in on a run there. And then, okay, John Brooks, 4th big. I spoke too soon in terms of us not having any crazy drafters. So I guess at this point, glad that I took the 2 bigs early on because they're going fast and furious right now. Weisberg says, hey, taking Miles Bridges, but draft him anyway. Yeah. Do you think there's a tier break after Triple J going with Cat? Yeah, I agree. Then Jalen Duren, I'm on deck here. Now I'm on the clock. As Jeff took Denny. Now in Portland, of course. Ugh. I'm just close my eyes, click the button. Tobias Harris. That is certainly the first share of Tobias that I have this year. Which again, like through the best ball regular season, might not look terrible. He's going to play a pretty big role in that Pistons team. Matt could give us a little bit more insight on what he sees Tobias's role being, but like I also think Tobias is a candidate to be rested down the stretch in those, the late playoff weeks here in the best ball season. Well, this is the dangers of starting with the 2 big build. Jeff says, what's your thought on Rockets players? Worried about their ceiling, deep team? Yeah, I don't think we differ too much there, Jeff. I did take Amin Thompson in the last draft. I'd be fine to take him if he's still here in my for my 7th round pick. But yeah, it just seems like the ceiling is capped a little bit there on a number of these guys. Like if I'm not getting Şengün first, again, Amin Thompson is a wing option there in the 70s. But like Tari Eason, to a lesser extent, Cam Whitmore, but Tari's probably my favorite one after Şengün up top. So Matt went Levine and OG, the 6-7 turn, right before him in the 6. Weisberg went MPJ, then Devin Vassell at 7.2. Again, said it last draft when Vassell went. I think it's a pretty good value still where you can get him. Nick Claxton off the board. And I'm on deck here. I'll pick it. What's my next one? 92. I want to take Darius Garland here. I think I'm going to take Darius Garland here. So through 7 rounds now, guards on my squad here. LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland. Wings, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris. Bigs, Joel Embiid, and Chet Holmgren. Really need to work on that wing position. We'll see who can potentially drop to us here. In the 8th, Jeff goes Jabari Smith Jr. Asking about those Rockets players. There you go. Weisberg says. Thought about Garland or Smith there. But yeah, floor of MPJ. I agree. Just a ton of minutes for him. I saw some comment that he made the other day. And again, it might have been just way more innocent and somebody making a big deal about nothing. But he said something about, it feels like basketball feels like a job to him, feels like work. Like it is, man. Porzingis off the board here in the 7th round, followed by RJ Barrett, Aaron Gordon, Amen Thompson, Keegan Murray. Really wanted Garland, went Jabari, 9 picks past ADP at decent value compared to where he's going. Matt saying, I think Tobias will look a lot like Bojan did with the Pistons the last couple of years. Knock down open shots, a little bit of self-creation ability, won't be as much of a turnstile. Yeah, you got to be hard to be a traffic cone like Bojan is at this point of his career. He wasn't he wasn't a terrible defender in his heyday. Bojan, that is. UNC, you bastard. Chris Middleton, 7-12. And then follows it up with D'Lo. MPJ is a moron. Yeah. Whole family. Unfortunate year for the Porters. Austin Reeves, Jaime Jaquez. Which, by the way, while we're here, Triple J is Jaren Jackson Jr. It's not Jaime Jaquez Jr. Maybe only in Florida does Triple J mean Jaime Jaquez. Drew Holiday off the board. That team in the 9 spot still just with Aaron Gordon on the wing. 4 bigs. We're coming back up on the clock here. We'll see who gets drafted here. I don't think Jeff is going to go with a wing here with the 2-4-1 already. Jordan Poole goes. Tyler Hero. I would be fine taking Osser, but I also have Tobias. This is tough. I think I'm going to go guard. I'm going to go Scoot. We're going to push off the problem of wing one more round. We're going to have to continue to focus on it. In my case for Scoot, and again, taking him almost 7 picks above ADP here. Portland going to be terrible. Absolutely tanking. Got rid of Brogdon. We saw at the end of last year, and maybe it changes at the end of this year when they start to shut guys down. Maybe Scoot Henderson is included in that group. But again, assuming that there's no, trades in there, you could see Jeremy Grant go out. You could see DeAndre Ayton go out with Klingon there. But I really think, those guys would be sat down first. Anthony Simons. And I hope for Scoot's sake and all the Blazers fans that he has a better year here. So Weisberg gets Osser. Matt goes Trace Jackson Davis, Jeremy Grant. Just, maybe shouldn't have waited on one of those wings there. Did not want to pair Osser and Tobias. And should also remember that I'm talking to half of this draft room. I just made the case for TJD. Last draft, and of course, neither Mike nor Matt need to listen to me to know that could be a really valuable pick there in the 8th round. So took TJD, Jeremy Grant. Mike went Derek Lively as the second pick. I like that. Then Trey Murphy. And we're on deck here. So there's a John Collins. There's PJ Washington. There's Sohan. And we're really getting into the nitty-gritty here. So it's going to be Collins. I don't like it, but it's going to be Collins. See what type of value we can find here in the triple digits. Jeff goes Zach Edey at 102. Got to be a 7. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of wings here down the stretch. You thought you were behind at wing, 3 and the 9. We were looking at the 9 a minute ago, right? Like just Aaron Gordon. They're on the clock here. Take Klay Thompson. Almost looks like that's auto picking. There goes PJ. Yeah, 3 spot, Brandon Miller and Trey Murphy. UNC back up on the clock here, 9-10 turn. UNC's got at the guard, Trae Young, James Harden, Cam Thomas, D'Lo, adds Keontae George there to close out round 9. Wing, Scotty Barnes, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Middleton adds Modest Buzelis to start the 10th, and Jarrett Allen in the middle. Coming back around here, round 10. Weisberg says, I thought long and hard about taking Trey Murphy instead of another big. Thought I might take a bigger round later, but love Derek Lively at this spot as the second big. I agree. At least this is where I'm at on the Dallas front court. And I know we've got a number of Dallas fans in the FTN Fantasy community, but I would think that the minutes disparity starts to tilt to, like we saw down the stretch of the regular season, right? Those guys were Gafford, rather, and Lively were kind of splitting the minutes. And in most games in the regular season, I would think that tilts more in Lively's favor this year. At least that's how we're treating these guys in drafts right now, right? After UNC took Buzelis, Herb Jones, Colin Sexton, Brad Beal, Cam Johnson. We're in the hole here for our 10th rounder. So some of those top wing options that are left, Jeremy Sohan, Zachary Richauche, Tari Eason, Stephon Castle, Cam Whitmore. So we'll see. We know we have the 3 spot also in between this pick and our next one. They're shallow on wings as well. Weisberg's got 4 wings. The 4 spot has 4 wings. Matt has 5 wings. So let's see here. I think we're going to go ahead and take Tari here. And then we've got a couple guys that profile kind of similarly to me in Richauche and Castle. Wiggins, again, that's a little bit shaky. Cam Whitmore, we just took Eason. Koulibaly, I think we kind of know what he is, or how capped he is in terms of his fantasy production at this point. Jonas Valanciunas goes off the board next. Now here's the 3 spot, right? Very short on wings. Let's see. Impressive to ruin Wimby at pick 3 team. Yeah. There goes Richauche. Jaden Ivey goes to Weisberg. Loves Modest, but man, people are taking him pretty high. So I think UNC got him in the first draft as well. So maybe he can chime in with his Buzelis thoughts. And like I'm excited to see him progress over the first couple of years, especially if he can get that shot falling a little bit more consistently, like more like it was in his last high school year. But I feel like he's somebody that's just not like, and again, where you're taking him 10th, 11th round, 9th, 10th, 11th, I guess, depending on the draft. He profiles as a guy who could really do some things for you in those playoff rounds, but is going to struggle to make your top 6, to make your starting lineup in a given week, like through the first half of the season. So after Mike took Ivy, Matt goes Mark Williams, Dante DiVincenzo, then Shaden Sharp. I do like that pick. And you talk about a guy who is on one of those tanking teams. And then, of course, Stephon Castle goes off the board. So, well, we might just have to do it again. We'll go ahead and take Chris Paul at 125. More CP3 shares. Answer some text in between these picks. Okay. I guess I will. So Jeff goes Bogdan after that. I didn't see Alex Sarr went right before I took CP3. Still a lot of work to do on this wing position. Yeah, should have more value later in the year. Is very skilled, contributes across the board. I think we're pretty much in lockstep there, especially with the later in the year part, right? And yeah, I think you do. Like you look at UNC's wings from earlier: Scotty Barnes, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Middleton. Assuming health for those 3 guys, like you don't need Modest to be, a home run pick right away. After Jeff took Bogdan, Malik Monk, Russell Westbrook. Look at that, Russell Westbrook. 3rd round last draft, 11th round this draft. Jaden McDaniels there in Minnesota. Clint Capella. Tyus Jones goes 1 pick before UNC can get his hands on him. Maybe he would take him, maybe he wouldn't. Needed a big. Got Ivica Zubac in the fold there to close out round 11 now on the turn. UNC. Double big, Bobby Portis there. So now Jared Allen, Zubac, Portis are his bigs. Coming back around here in the 12th. There goes Pirtle. There goes Andrew Wiggins. We're working with the 5-4-2 right now. And looking for wings. Some of the top guys on my board: Whitmore, Koulibaly, Oubre, John Isaac, Max Strus. And again, like, this is another spot where some of the changes in the rankings are going to be reflected early next week, where am I really that excited about an Aaron Nesmith or a Patrick Williams over some of these other wings down here? Like, we can't put these, late round flyers too high in the rankings. But, like, who's more likely to win me a playoff week? Aaron Nesmith or Noah Clowney? Oubre, Schroeder, Gafford off the board. Jeff on the clock here. I'm on deck. Jeff goes Suggs, pretty decent value there. And I think at this point, I'm fine to pair these 2 guys. And hopefully, ride the hot hand if I need to. We'll go and grab Cam Whitmore. Put him alongside Tari Eason in the wing depth chart. See, Weisberg says, this is my 11th draft, but it might be my favorite so far. I kind of like the strategy of Giannis at 2 because it really allows you to build a very balanced team. Yeah, no, I mean, we can check in on Weisberg. I know he's about to be on the clock again at wing. He's got Giannis, McCall Bridges, Michael Porter Jr., Oscar Thompson at guard, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, Devin Vassell, Jaden Ivey, Shaedon Sharp. On the clock now, 2 bigs, Karl Anthony Towns, Derek Lively, adds Bilal Coulibaly to his wings. Then Buddy Hield, another one of those bodies that the Warriors added this offseason. Ben Mathurin, you look for a bounce back. There was a shoulder issue with him last year, I think. Late last year. Man, if Jonathan Isaac could ever play more than, 20, 22 minutes a game. So after Hield and Mathurin, Mike went Nemhard, then Marcus Smart. Four spot going to use all this time here. This is a tough spot. Clowney's kind of staring me in the face there, but it's pretty darn early to grab him. But I know Jeff is in between me and my next pick twice. So is UNC. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to grab our first John Isaac share of the season. Hopefully that new contract extension means that they can continue to ramp his minutes up little by little. Jeff grabs Reed Shepherd there, 150 overall. Back half of the 13th here. So we got 3 picks left. We were sitting on what the 5-6-2 build at this point. 5-6-2. Guards LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, Scoot, and CP3. Wings Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, John Collins, Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, John Isaac, and bigs Joel Embiid and Chet Holmgren. If Embiid and Chet stay healthy, could maybe overcome the lack of depth here at wing and maybe lack of some perceived upside. After Jeff took Reed Shepherd, see Jordan Clarkson, Max Strus go off the board. Just as he likes Reed Shepherd late because he can spike if a starter gets injured and then he starts. Yeah, absolutely. And there's kind of a number of guys on that Houston team like that, right? Like Eason and Whitmore. If you see injuries to Brooks and or Jabari, Şengün, right? They slide Jabari to, if Şengün goes down, slide Jabari to the 5. They still have the option, right? Steven Adams is there. A lot of different things that Houston can do. After Strus went Ayo Dosunmu, then Brooke Lopez at pick 154, Aaron Nesmith. UNC goes Taylor Hendricks. On the clock here to start the 14th round. Caris LeVert. You talk about a guy who needs just one injury to, really up his ceiling. Caris LeVert. Like I said, didn't love what was available there. Took Nemhard, but the wings there are kind of rough. Yeah, and that's what I'm finding here with taking those 2 bigs early on. That, again, pushing the wings off past round 3. Really tough. Really, really tough. And then, again, probably should have just taken, instead of the Scoot, could have gone TJD, Jeremy Grant, right? But that's why we try different builds out, especially early on. Especially early on. Having Matty Harrison behind me is tough because, yeah. And I'm sitting here sandwiched by you two and then Jeff and UNC on the other side. Who knows which other ones of these draft members are in here with us. Oh, Jeff, you cut me deep, man. Taking the Noah Clowney from me. Thought he was going to fall. We're going to go ahead and we're going to handcuff here. I know this is usually a football thing and not really something that, that's kind of fallen out of style the last couple of years here. But when I've got Embiid and Chet Holmgren, if Embiid goes down, or again, sits some back-to-backs, which is probably going to happen at some point throughout the year, even a little ankle tweak, knee tweak, sits out a week or two here or there. Andre Drummond now, his backup there in Philly. So we'll take a little Embiid handcuff. And that was our 14th rounder. So we've got two more. We've got the 5, 6, 3. Mike Conley, starting point guard, still on the board. 4 spot takes Obi Toppin. So the 3 spot has now gotten to a 5-4-4 build. Then we've got Weisberg 6-5-2. Same build right now for Matt. Yeah, fair enough, Jeff. Chris says, going to ask about Drummond, but didn't want to bring it up right around now. Yeah. I think you definitely don't have to have Joel Embiid to take Andre Drummond because, again, I think we all expect Drummond Embiid will miss time at some point. Because what season has he not? So this late on, if you need a flyer at big, Drummond works just fine. And I thought Ware might make it back to me, but again, silly me. Weisberg takes him. Pick 167. Then Donovan Clingan. In between those, you had Matt take Norm Powell, Dalton Connect on the 14-15 turn. And now we're in the hole here for round 15. Again, got to take some high upside swings on these wings. So I know Banton went late last time to UNC, probably going to let him through again since I've got Scoot. Yeah, and also I have Tobias Harris and Jimmy, so Holland and Jovic, again, get a benefit if those guys go down. But I'm going to take Holland with the idea that he might play a little bit longer into this potential tank season for the Pistons. Again, post All-Star break, maybe he gets a little bit more time. And my second wing there in Tobias Harris. And again, with this build, this might, with how good I feel about those top 3 guards and LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, it might be an 8th wing for me here. Just to get another bullet, so to speak, in the chamber for my wings. Jovic off the board to Jeff. Definitely know who I'm targeting, but I'm not going to bring him up, UNC. You have to decipher that on your own. After Jovic went, you got Cole Anthony, DeAndre Hunter. 6-5-3 build for UNC here coming into his last 2 picks. Mike says, likes Clingan as a flyer this late as the 3rd big. I agree. Biggest mistake I might have made in this draft was taking Nembhard over Draymond. I don't mind Clingan as my 3rd big. I'd agree with all that. But again, you said this is what, draft 11 for you, Mike? So again, I'm right around in that range too. So still kind of feeling out the different types of builds and strategies we can employ based on where we're starting, who we're reaching on, or who's falling to us. After DeAndre Hunter went Harrison Barnes, Mike Conley, Onyeka Okongwu. UNC closes out his draft with Bojan Bogdanovic and Rob Dillingham. Then Grayson Allen, Corey Kispert coming back this way here in the final round. Well, and I'm not going to mention this player either with Jeff on the clock before me, but after Kispert, Trey Jones, Grant Williams still there in Charlotte. Kobe Brown, 184 ADP. That's interesting. Terrence Shannon, come on. Sorry, just taking in who's picking up some of these late ADPs. Grady Dick goes to Jeff, so I will gladly take a Jalen Wilson to close out my draft here. No ADP for Jalen Wilson. So he is probably my favorite undrafted player at this point. Him, Jarris Walker, Tijon Salon, Paul Reed. I mean, Dylan Brooks undrafted. It's not super exciting, but again, not bad for a guy that's not being drafted at all. Kobe Brown after my Jalen Wilson, Terrence Shannon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And let's pull this one back up. Take a look at the board. UNC. Wait, this is the last draft. Okay, we refresh. That should fix it, right? Yeah, here we go. So Matt had the 101. Went Jokic, his other bigs. Mark Williams. Picked up Kyle Filipowski as Mr. Irrelevant. I don't hate that either. You talk about some of those Utah guys who could be playing a ton in those playoff rounds in mid to late March. Guards, Donovan Mitchell, Josh Giddey, Zach LaVine, Dante DiVincenzo, Buddy Hield, Ben Mathurin, Norman Powell. Wings for Matt, Julius Randle, Kyle Kuzma, OG, Trace Jackson Davis, Jeremy Grant, and Dalton Connect. Mike was at the 2 spot. Went Giannis over Wemby, and we talked about that throughout the draft. Wings, Giannis, McCall Bridges, MPJ, Oscar Thompson, Bilal Coulibaly, and Khalil Ware. Guards, Fox, Booker, Vassell, Jaden Ivey, Shaden Sharp, Andrew Nembhard, KCP. And then bigs, Karl Anthony Towns, Derek Lively, Donovan Clingan. I was drafting out of the 5 spot. Went the 2 big build to start. I will say I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. And if I did it again, where I start Embiid at 5, Chet at 20, it would be, if I could grab one, a wing there at 3-5. So bigs, Joel Embiid, Chet Holmgren, did handcuff Embiid later on with Andre Drummond. Guards, LaMelo, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, Scoot Henderson, Chris Paul. And then we've got 8 wings on this team. Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, John Collins, Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, John Isaac, Ron Holland, and Jalen Wilson. Jeff was drafting out of the 6th spot, went SGA with his first pick. Other guards, Emmanuel Quickley, Tyler Hero, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Jalen Suggs, Reed Shepard, Grady Dick. On the wing, he's got Siakam, Miles Bridges, Danny Avdija, Jabari Smith Jr., Noah Clowney, and Nikola Jovic. In the middle, Bam Adebayo, Zach Edey, Isaiah Hartenstein, and UNC. Drafted at the 12 spot, Scotty Barnes went first. Other wings, DeMar DeRozan, Chris Middleton, Modest Buzelis, Taylor Hendricks, Bojan Bogdanovic. Guards, Trae Young, James Harden, Cam Thomas, D'Lo, Keontae George, Karis LeVert, and Rob Dillingham. Bigs, Jarrett Allen, Ivica Zubac, and Bobby Portis. So how are we feeling about those, fellas, before we shut it down here? Let's see. Matthew says, with Giddey and Filipowski, I've got both sides of the statutory coin. Mike Weisberg, if I were to criticize my own draft, I probably could have used an extra wing instead of an extra guard. My backup wings are so young, but the floor is pretty high with my starters. And I would agree, again, taking some of those late round shots, right? Especially like the closing Khalil Ware, Donovan Clingan, KCP. Like that seems pretty darn strong to me. Jeff says, give myself 7.5 out of 10. Think I'm live. I agree. I think all of those very solid teams. And again, at least I like to think this room a little bit tougher than your average, since we're all in here discussing what we're doing in going through these. So I appreciate all of you tuning in, sticking with me here. A little over 2 hours on a Friday to close out the month of August. Again, reminder, I am back every Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, between now and the regular season. Maybe once we get closer to the season, we fire up a couple live stream drafts on some other days of the week as the hype starts to build there in mid-October. We're a little less than a month away from training camps and media days. So it's all going to come before you know it. And of course, NFL 6 days away. If you haven't joined us yet here at FTN Fantasy, promo code FTN15 to get you 15% off those fantasy football packages. I believe everything outside of the core package. So if you haven't joined us here yet, I would encourage you to do so. Again, you can sign up at Underdog Fantasy, where we're doing these drafts. Promo code FTN, get you a 50% deposit match bonus. It's up to $250. You'll also get a special discounted pick. Again, that promo code FTN at sign up over there at Underdog Fantasy. Just closing out here, Jeff. Say, yeah, 3 and 9 spot paid the rake. And Weisberg says, side note, have you thought about streaming on playback yet? Not for these drafts yet, although that is an interesting idea. We did to close out last NBA season, and also specifically in the playoffs, Mike, we were doing on the FTN playback account, we were streaming some of those playoff games. We had Noops come in there, Prop God, Mike Randall was in there, Alex Blickel was in there, Sam Chowdhury was in there. So we do for some of those playoff games we were, and that is something that we are going to bring back even during the season here this year. Have a little powwow on certain nights. Haven't figured out which night of the week quite yet. Weisberg says, I know the playback guys are super excited about best ball hoops drafts. That is something that I will look into over this next week, and maybe where you can also catch me next Friday. But I'll keep you guys apprised of any potential changes or just maybe additions in that space. I appreciate the suggestion and the information there, Mike. Again, you can follow me at Kawaisenberg DFS on Twitter. That's where I'll put out the links for these type of drafts. Of course, be retweeting all the other great content from my colleagues here at FTN Fantasy. And my friends, we are under 2 months until the start of the NBA season. Like I said, it's going to be here before you know it. So once again, thanks for tuning in, sticking with me here over 2 hours on a Friday. I appreciate all of you guys participating in the chat, jumping in these drafts. It's a ton of fun. So with that, you can catch FTN Fast Break podcast. That comes out on Monday, episode 8. Mike Randall and myself talking about everything in the hoops world. And then back here on Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, doing another maybe 1 or 2 NBA best ball drafts over there on Underdog. Enjoy your weekend, your long weekend, everybody. Have a good Labor Day, and I will see you guys back here next week. Goodbye.